Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special edition of What's Trending with the Webby Awards. Yes, we actually do have a great live in-studio audience, and thanks to all of you for joining us today. The Webby Talks have been touring the country, talking about the future of digital and web trends, and with me now is David Michelle Davies. He's the Executive Director of the Webby Awards. So thank you so much for being here and doing this with us tonight.
Thanks for having me. I'm psyched to be here.
I know. So tell us what the Webby Talks is exactly.
So in a nutshell, we get all this work entered into the Webbies from all over the world, more than 10,000 pieces of work from over 60 different countries, and at the end of the day, only 1%, a little bit more than 1% actually win Webbies, and another 99% of it, there's a lot of actually awesome, interesting work there, and so Webby Talks is our opportunity to sort of share a lot of the other work that we see throughout the year and share some of the trends that we think are interesting.
Very cool, and we'll be going through some of those trends tonight. Of course, I encourage all of you in studio, watching at home, because the theme tonight is
Staying in to go out.
Staying in to go out. So thanks to all of you for coming out tonight. So if you're going to tweet at What's Trending, at the Webby Awards, and you're watching right now, livestream.com/What's Trending, and we encourage conversation, so tweet us if you have a question, and we'll ask it to our wonderful panelists or to DMD, who is here tonight. And so DMD has a special presentation. He'll be going through this, and then we'll move on to the panel.
Great.
So take it away. Thanks.
Thank you. Well, thanks to everybody for being here, and thanks to everybody at home watching the live stream. I thought we'd get right started with Webby Talks. Our first slide, it's our presentation, and what we're going to talk about today is something we call staying in to go out. And at the Webby Awards, we like to look at how are people actually using technology, not what's the technology being made for, but like what are people who actually get their hands on it, what are they doing with it? And one thing we've seen is that people are using their computers, they're using the internet to do things at home in front of their desk that they used to do out in the real world. Things like go to a cafe, go to a classroom, go to a tasting room, go to a concert. And so we're going to sort of explore and show you some of those cases. And we're going to do so in 3 steps. So the first step is I'm going to show you hashtags, and basically how people have been using hashtags to hang out together for a number of years now, and how actually this is a totally people-invented trend, right? This isn't technology companies or software developers who made this up. This is people who, by the way, people invented hashtags, and people have been using hashtags in all these different ways. And then I'll show you how some startups are actually copying what people are doing and being inspired what people are doing and building businesses around that. And then finally, a couple platforms that are making it easy for anybody to hang out together online. So let's get right into it. It all started for me, or at least an anecdote for it to kind of give you some context and sort of make this easy to understand. At this year's State of the Union address. And I was at home doing that thing that we all sort of do now where maybe what's on television isn't quite interesting enough for us to just do that. So instead we're sitting on our couch in front of our computer doing email and other things. And I started seeing this hashtag pop up on Twitter. I was on Twitter. And it was SOTU, and at first I thought, what's SOTU? SOTU. Oh, State of the Union. I was watching the State of the Union. Sometimes I'm a little ditzy. So I started following it, and this is the first, this is one of the slides that came up, or one of the comments that came up. Somebody was saying, what makes America great? A black president, a white vice president, and an orange speaker. A lot of you might remember this year that for whatever reason Speaker Boehner was particularly orange. I think he had been to Bermuda or something. A lot of comments about that. We can see the next comment here was from The Onion. You gotta love The Onion staffing the State of the Union address now. If you have an HD TV, we recommend going to menu and lowering your set saturation values 15% to compensate for Boehner. Again, that orange thing. And then actually a colleague of mine at the Webby Awards, I proposed cuts to John Boehner's glassware budget. You can sort of see here in the picture, Speaker Boehner has an inordinate amount of glasses in front of him. So I show you some of the funny ones because they're fun and that's part of the entertaining experience. But in addition, there was actually a lot of other comments that were really informative. People linking to like factcheck.org and linking to blog posts about it. And this experience of watching it while talking to friends and talking to other people at the same time made watching the State of the Union a lot more interesting and definitely a lot more entertaining too. So I thought I'd show you some examples of how people have been using hashtags to get together. So let's go right on the first one. You might recognize this. This is Beyonce at this past year's MTV Music Awards when she announced that she was having a baby. And so this event generated the most amount of tweets per second on Twitter ever until Steve Jobs passed away earlier this year. This was the most talked about event. And part of the reason is the event was totally driven by hashtags. And well, people that were at home who were on Twitter who weren't even watching weren't even watching the MTV Music Awards, saw this hashtag, I think it was like Beyonce's baby pop up. And then all of a sudden everybody wanted to talk about Beyonce's baby and all the things, whether it was Jay-Z's baby and whether the baby would be as talented as Jay-Z and be sort of have a hard time living up to their reputation, all the things that people want to talk about. It's kind of only in America would this be the thing that drives the most amount of conversation, not the State of the Union address. But anyway, but that was totally driven by the hashtag, which is again invented by people. So here's another use of hashtags that have been going on for a number of years now. People have been using hashtags to have live Twitter chats on Twitter. And so this is a document that a guy put together, a Google Doc, of all of the Twitter chats that exist, or at least hopefully most of them. And I'm just showing you the ones with the hashtags from BF to BO, I believe. So there's 25 other letters of the alphabet of hashtag Twitter chats, which aren't even shown here, which would go way down the stage and out the door, just to give you a sense of how many. There's literally thousands. If you don't know how this works, there's a Twitter chat for bike schools, there's one for black books, there's for black lit, there's a blog chat, there's a Bollywood chat, there's a boom chat also, which is for brands and people who want to make their stream go boom. You can check that out to figure out what that means, I don't know. But if you don't know how this works, so we can take a look at the Bali Central one. That's for people who are interested in Bollywood and want to talk to celebrities in Bollywood. And if you wanted to do that, you would log into Twitter from 9 to 10 a.m. Delhi Standard Time, put in the hashtag Bali Central, and you would find a conversation of people in real time talking about Bollywood, interviews with actors, that kind of thing. And so there's literally thousands of these kind of things. This whole system and organization here is totally organized and created by people, not by technologists or software designers or startups. This is all sort of crowdsourced and organized by individuals. All right, so if we go to the next one, another great example of how people are using hashtags to organize information. This is a site that was made, it's called Instacane, and it sprouted up right before the hurricane we had in the eastern seaboard this past summer. And the guy basically wrote a program that sucked up all the photos off of Instagram that were tagged with the hashtag Irene. And so you could actually go to the site during the hurricane and look at live photos of the hurricane coming directly off of people's smartphones, essentially. So in this case, hashtags not being used to hang out and for conversations, but being used to organize photos in real time. So a really interesting use of how people are using hashtags. Okay, so now a lot of startups are starting to look at and be inspired by this people-invented trend of hanging out together. So we can take a look at the first one, and the first one's called Chill, and this is a proof of concept they did for TechCrunch Disrupt. And I actually think I know I was going to say, I know What's Trending does a lot of work with Chill. I think maybe part of the way we even found out about Chill. So you guys are at the forefront, of course. So what Chill is doing is trying to unite that experience of when you're sitting on your couch in front of your computer and you're talking to people on Facebook or about a show or about what you're watching, and then you're watching it on television. Unite that into a one-screen experience. So making this, all the comments, all the chatter, and the actual content itself, the media experience. And so in this case, they created a lounge for TechCrunch Disrupt, and people could log into the lounge using Facebook or Twitter. You could view a live stream of the actual conference, and you could talk to people about the conference, just like you would if you actually attended the conference yourself. So we go on the next one. You'll notice in all of these, for whatever reason, there's like a heavy inspiration of 1993 art direction for the avatars. So I really haven't figured out why yet, but if you know, you can let me know. So this is Turntable FM. Most people know about this. It's gotten a lot of press. Really an awesome service. Quickly, if you don't know about it, it basically does what Chill did for video content for music. What do people do when they hang out with friends? They often play music for each other. So in this case, you log into the site using Facebook or Twitter, and you find all these different rooms where people are playing music. The rooms tend to spread up around a bunch of different topics, groups of people. So at the Webby Awards, we have a room sometimes. You can come hang out in there with us and see what we're listening to. Sometimes about live events. This one came up right after the earthquake we had on the East Coast. These guys think they're being funny, I guess. They're playing earthquake-inspired music. Carole King, I Feel the Earth Move. And then often it's also about types of music. So there's like a dub room and a reggae room and all that kind of stuff. So, and you do all the same things. You talk about the music, you vote the DJs up or down, you can become a DJ, you can give people points, etc. All right, so the next one is what do people also do in real life? Well, let's be honest, people go to bars and they hit on each other sometimes, right? And so this is Shaker app, which transforms your Facebook experience into a bar. And we've had some people on our team at the Webbys who've gone into there, and I can confirm that they have been, they've had inappropriate advances made at them inside of this app, just like in a regular bar, right? But again, so just a really interesting, a few short examples here of how startups are sort of copying and trying to figure out ways to help people hang out together online in real time, but in a very sort of media-rich environment. Okay, so then we'll look at a couple platforms, mostly Google Plus, the Google Hangouts technology, and a little bit of Skype to show you how anybody can sort of do this now. So let's go into the first one. I'm going to focus on the Google Hangouts examples on ways that individuals and sort of small business and entrepreneurs are using Google Hangouts rather than sort of on how big brands are. If you don't know what Google Hangouts is, it's basically a 10-way, I think it's 9 or 10-way video conference platform inside of Google+. You can invite people into your Hangout. You can see them in real time. You can play videos for each other in real time. You can play music for each other. You can talk. I think you can share docs and stuff too. So, because it's Google, the technology is actually really good as well. So this guy, Lee Allison, runs a cooking school, and he realized that why couldn't he run his cooking school inside of Google Hangouts? So you can go to his site at gpluscookingschool.com, pay him an amount of money, I think it's like $10 or $15, and get to go to his cooking school. So for instance, maybe on Tuesdays at 8 o'clock, he's going to teach people how to make, I don't know, beef stroganoff or something. And so you get all the ingredients ahead of time, you show up at your kitchen, you pop open your laptop, you join the Hangout. There's Lee and about 9 other people all learning how to make beef stew. All right, so we can go to the next one. This is Richard Patterson. He is a person who works at White & McKay, which is a big whiskey company in the UK, whiskey label. And so what do people do when they go visit the White & McKay distillery? They have whiskey samples and they do whiskey tastings. And so why couldn't they be doing this for people who can't make it to their distillery? And so they're actually doing whiskey tastings as well on Google Hangouts. And so what they do is they send the whiskey to you ahead of time. You get together with a bunch of friends, hopefully, and you join the Hangout and you start drinking the whiskey, talking to him about it. He tells you where it was made, how long it aged, how they made it, all the kind of things you would do at a normal distillery tasting, essentially. I mentioned that you get together hopefully with your friends, because if you do it by yourself, at the end, when it's over, you're just by yourself at home, drunk. All right, so the next slide. Then More Magazine, which is a women's magazine. This is a little bit more of a sort of bigger sort of brand execution here, but More Magazine has something they call the Skype Book Club. And there's a tradition or a marketing technique for authors. Whenever they launch a book, they go to bookstores and they go to book clubs to do readings and as a way of promoting their book and promoting sales. So what Skype does is they actually invite all of these book clubs once a month into this video conference session. So here you can see, I think there's about 9 or 10 different book clubs that are participating and the author of a specific book. So in this case, it's Meg Wolitzer, who's a big New York Times bestselling women's literature author. And so she's actually just doing a reading in here to, I think, 9 or 10 book clubs at the same time. So instead of going to visit them all, again, they're all staying in to go out. Okay, so we're going to move on to the last one here, which is you can always tell when this stuff is really sort of taking off when you get this additional layer of guides or people who start organizing the information to help you use these services more quickly and more efficiently. In this case, gphangouts.com is a site that's organizing and sort of telling you a guide to all these different Hangouts that are happening online. So you can visit the site and find topics you're interested in, Hangouts you might want to hang out in. And actually, I think there's one more slide. And this actually ties in very much to what Facebook announced about a few months ago at this point, where they're starting to let people hook up their Spotify accounts or their Netflix accounts in real time to share like what they're listening to now and what they're watching now. You can see how eventually, rather than just sharing what it is, you'll probably be doing it together, listening to things at the same time, watching things at the same time through this type of service. So I'll leave up some takeaways here, but we think this is really interesting, and it's certainly really interesting for entertainment. Being in LA is something we really wanted to focus on and have the opportunity to talk to our panelists about. So thanks very much, and let's get started.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Once again, I realized that I didn't introduce for some people what's trending is. Thank you, all of you, for coming here. We love hosting these types of events. We're so passionate about internet culture and the web community. So I've been working with the Webby Awards for years now. You knew me when I was a young lady.
You're still young.
Yeah. No, in web years, I'm a geezer, actually. But basically, What's Trending, it's a daily blog around internet culture and web trends. What's trending online, basically. We are the source for everything. We own the mind share around What's Trending online. We have also a weekly live and interactive show, which we shoot here. So I encourage everyone who lives in LA, if you're in the area, we shoot every week live at 10 a.m. And so we couldn't be more happy to have all of you here today representing different aspects of the digital community and innovation in many ways. And so you just kind of featured a few of the things that are allowing people to stay and to go out and to interact with people outside of their communities and globally. But I'm going to introduce our other panelists here today. We have Patrick Starzan, he's the Director of Marketing at Funny or Die. Thank you for being here, Patrick. Andy Williams, he's the Director of Digital Strategy at 72 and Sunny. Thank you. And if you have any questions, everyone there or here in the audience, tweet us at What's Trending. And thank you, of course, at the Webby Awards.
Thank you.
I always like to give you guys a shout out too. But I'll be following at What's Trending for those questions. So what are you using in terms of really connecting with people when you both put out videos? I mean, you're obviously putting on funnyordie.com, but how are you strategizing to get people engaged and get the word out and that noise going?
Yeah, for us, I mean, it's not as advanced as chill.com or anything like that. We're not hosting communities, but we're leveraging platforms like Twitter and Facebook and Tumblr right now, where we're trying to cultivate communities around the content and the brand. And it's not for us about just tweeting or posting our videos. Mm-hmm. It's about creating an environment that we think that our audience finds beneficial, mm-hmm. where they can engage with us and feel more a part of who Funny or Die is. So it's not just Funny or Die, this LA-based company. It's Funny or Die, this internet company where everyone that is following us or is a fan feels like a part of what we're doing.
There's definitely a culture around it, and you guys have worked together, right?
Yeah.
Because the K-Swiss.
Yeah, K-Swiss.
That was the most epic video ever.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people about that? You probably might already know about that video.
Yeah, so I suppose we actually leveraged a character who was out there and took him and aligned him with a brand in a comedic way. But the thing which made that work for us, I think, was making sure that we made the brand relevant for that culture. Like we used Kenny Powers to leverage the brand pretty much, and
Leveraged it.
Yeah, and treated Kenny as a real endorser, even though he's only a character.
Yeah.
So I think that made people maybe prick their ears up and go, hang on, what's going on here? It's not just another celebrity endorsement, it's actually a character's endorsement. And with the help of Funny and Die and their reach, that was the seed which really set that campaign alight. And yeah.
A lot of what you talked about is really building community and interactivity around content online. So what trends are you seeing right now, and where do you see it going in 2012?
Well, I think the thing that we feel strongly about actually is just that at the end of the day, people out there make this stuff up themselves. The trends really follow how people are using this stuff, and a lot of the stuff I showed there is really based on stuff that people have been hacking together for a couple of years now, right? So I think that what's cool about what's going on now is that a lot of technology has gotten better and it's really rich, especially like some of that Google, the Hangouts and the Skype stuff, where you can actually really have a nice experience hanging out with somebody through your computer in a way that feels like, it's not like 100% natural, but it's pretty natural. And so you're seeing all this, because of that, you're seeing people are really starting to think, wow, this works. We can have cooking schools and whiskey tastings and that kind of stuff. And so it really enables the spirit of people out there to think of how they want to use this stuff again, and for them to take it to a new place.
Does that change the way both of you produce content now and approach brands and I guess stories? And storytelling?
Yeah, it definitely does. I mean, the great power that digital communications and social online give you is that audience and people involved in the content can feed back, and you can and you can actually adjust the content and grow the content with the audience. I think we saw that in the early days with even in the movie landscape with Snakes on a Plane.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you actually had fans actually helping write the script for the movie. And today you need to be a bit snappy and agile like that to create content which is relevant. And I think that's the great thing as well, is you can actually create topical content which is relevant and very quickly.
That's a huge advantage you guys have, right, at Funny or Die, which is that you can be way faster than all those TV shows
Yeah.
and getting out parody and all that kind of stuff. right?
Exactly. We just launched a political part of Funny or Die a month ago called Live Funny or Die, and it's basically kind of like this intersection of SNL and The Daily Show, where we're able to jump on something that's happened maybe in a debate and put a video together that night and launch it the next morning to actually kind of grab the zeitgeist of what people are talking about and put it out there. And the great thing for us too is that it's a 2-minute video, right? So we can fail a lot to learn how to be successful. So we've been doing it for almost 5 years right now, and we've learned from that. We learned how long a video should be, what resonates in terms of topics for people.
What does resonate?
Well, I
That
think,
resonates.
I think it's things that are on people's mind right now, right? So if it's in the news or being talked about, I think it's something that if we can parody quickly, it has a great chance of doing well.
So what is the process? I guess in terms of you're doing it so quickly. I don't know, 72 and Sunny, I know that you work with companies long term to create real strategy, you could say. So how do you balance between creating that strategy and then jumping on something right away?
We have no strategy whatsoever. No, I mean, for us, it's about, it starts with creating great content. I mean, we're producing 30 videos a month right now, which is a lot. So some of it is definitely about what's going on right now, but others are just concepts that we think are funny or that talent that come to us want to do for the first time. So it all starts with creating what we think is just great content.
And how does 72 and Sunny approach that?
We try to make sure that we look at our audience and we look at the way that they would expect their friends to talk to them and play with them and have fun with them and make sure we're talking on that level. Like, brands often can become a bit sterile and talk in a very corporate way. So we make sure that we have a good lens on the culture that we're trying to talk to and make sure that we're talking to them in that manner that they find palatable and not like they've been spoken down to or been sold to.
And that's why I think the Kenny Powers video was so impactful, because you weren't talking down to people. You weren't like, oh my God, someone can't swear or say something.
How do you get brands to go for that? Because a lot of them, there's a lot of fear there.
Yeah. Well, it's a good point. I mean, today's brands which are becoming successful and have good cut through are brands which are prepared to take risks. And today, vanilla brands are falling by the wayside, and it's the brands who literally have the balls to put their I suppose history on the line and put probably some of the things I've worked towards before on the line, risk actually offending some people to make more friends. Like, you can't be friends with everyone, and there's a lot of brands out there that try to be friends with everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the modern brands that aren't afraid to offend. And by offending, you actually create lovers and haters. And by not sitting on the fence, you have people who actually love your brand, and you have people that hate it. And sometimes the people that hate it will actually do sometimes
You're
more
so
for you.
engaged.
Yeah.
You're like, God,
Yeah.
you hate it,
Yeah.
but you're like spreading the word
Yeah.
so much. I could just see a new campaign like, we are offensive, who are you?
Yeah.
That'd be a great campaign.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're like, no, actually, Shira, that's it.
Yeah. We just did a campaign like out of our Amsterdam office for Benetton, like called Unhate.
That was huge. That went viral like last week, didn't it?
Yeah, we actually got told off by the Pope, which is, quite
so tell
a.
people about that for people that didn't see the campaign.
Right.
Or
So
maybe you did.
That was the one where he's kissing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
but yeah.
Go ahead, Diego. You go.
No.
It's yours. He did it. You should tell
yes.
him.
But then I want your insights.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, so just quickly to recap, I won't go on about it too much, but essentially Benetton, we wanted to make them relevant again. That had some great historical advertising and branding in the past, and everyone knew them back in the 80s for, you know, like crazy shoulder pads and bright colors and ethnic marketing, and and then they were doing really well, but you know, they'd fallen off the radar. So they wanted a cut-through campaign that would go viral around the world, and they literally were. The brief pretty much said, we're not afraid of anything, like scare us, and that was a brand that didn't want to go vanilla, and we showed them like Mark 10, and they went for it, and yeah, it's a risky campaign.
Did you make Obama kiss in one of them?
Obama was a bit of a slut, I think. I think we got him kissing a couple of people. Yeah. I think wasn't one of them the Palestinian Prime Minister?
Nice.
I thought it was the Pope. He was kissing the Pope, no? Or was it? No. So how did you do that? So that was all photo. Yeah. So that was all like Photoshop manipulation?
Yeah, there was Photoshop manipulation, but there was also a beautiful film done for it, which I thought was one of the more stunning pieces of the campaign as well.
I just was wondering, like, how could you, like, you shouldn't have, but like, how were you able to do that? Is it because they're public figures that you're allowed to use their images and stuff? Or like, when I saw it, I was like, how can they do this? I don't mean in a, like, I didn't think you should. I just wanted, clearly Obama.
I was
Yeah,
wanted
I was like, how can I do that?
We just queued up in Congress and just put it in front, and they never look at what they're signing anyway. So yeah. I don't actually know the deep down. I'm sure there's
legal details.
Yeah. We've got thousands of lawyers. They're sitting back there.
You got it.
That's the thing is, you mentioned viral. Someone approaching you and saying, "I want a viral campaign." I want each of your thoughts on that, because so many people are sick of that word viral, and can you say there's no real recipe for viral? And have we come finally to the time where we're gonna stop using that word?
I think probably not, but just because it's in the lexicon or whatever. But we've been visiting at the Webbys. We've been visiting all these internet companies and agencies and people who make advertising for the net and video and all this different stuff. And definitely, what everybody says is people are asking them to the agencies are being asked to get everybody more Facebook likes and more Twitter followers, and the content creators are being asked to make things that will go viral, and it's kind of all the same challenge. So everybody wants that still. But I don't think there's necessarily a recipe for surefire success, but there's definitely a recipe for potential for success, right? Like, you never know, but if you do things the wrong way, it's definitely not going to go viral.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in my opinion, there's no such. We have a lot of people come to us and say, make us a viral video. You don't make a viral video. You make a video that becomes viral, right? And I can't stand that when everyone's like, oh, viral video.
You're one of those then.
Yeah,
See, I knew
I
some of
wanted
you were
to
out
die.
there.
Exactly. So
They all hate it. Everybody hates it.
but I think there are some underlying factors, right? It has to be universal in nature, right? It has to be based some type of emotion that when you watch it, you have a visceral response to it, enough that you say, I need to share this with my group of friends. And if you can find that, you can't tap into that all the time, but when you find those combinations of universe and an emotional connection to it, that's how you make a truly big viral video. And I think
And put Mike Tyson in it.
and put Mike Tyson in it, right? In tights.
Yeah.
And you guys, you've had so many different campaigns that have obviously gotten a lot of attention. So how do you approach that?
Well, I think I suppose one of the number one things for us as well is making sure before you put that video live, you pinch yourself and go, would I share this, or would our audience share this? Is it worthy of sharing? I suppose that's the hallelujah moment when you get to the end of a video. It's the measure of success. Is someone going to show it to someone else? Are they going to email it to someone else? Are they going to share it on Facebook? Because it, like you're saying, like the metrics and mechanics behind making a viral video or a spreadable video are just they're pretty hard to determine, and it's not a science, it's an art form, and people try to put science behind it, and you can go online and read 1,001 different blogs about how to make a viral video, but you can't just put a cat in a video and have it do something amazing, which often happens. I don't know why.
I think you can put a cat.
Yeah.
Why do we have any cats here tonight?
That's probably why you've seen the catvertising agency video where, an advertising agency based around cats.
What what online video content or brands do you feel like are using, I guess, the communities really well online and innovations online? Like, what are you seeing work? And what are you seeing not work? And like, who do you look at and you're like, they did it right this past year? Andy?
I'm talking again. I think what I'm seeing work at the moment is looking at the whole, I don't like to say the word, but the whole ecosystem of what.
At least you didn't use zeitgeist.
Okay. Yeah.
I like that word. Hashtag zeitgeist. Yes. So continue about the ecosystem.
Well, I think looking at the situation which people are using technology in today is really important, and I think you mentioned earlier on, or David, Michelle, you mentioned earlier on. People sitting in front of television and browsing the web at the same time and consuming content in that manner, and I think that's a big opportunity today. And
second screen experience.
Well, sometimes triple screen experience. Someone's got their their iPad, and they've got their mobile phone, and they've got their TV, and they've just someone else is probably on their laptop. But there's a huge increase in the amount of people who are browsing the web today while watching TV, and I think there's good opportunities there to take people full 360 with experiences, whether it's branded or just for entertainment purposes. Have you guys looked at anything like that with Funny or Die? For engaging people, I suppose, with your...
Well, you have had shows on HBO, you have a show coming up on Fuse, and so how are you looking to use, I guess, the online property with the TV experience?
Yeah, I mean, obviously for our videos, it's really hard to get people around watching a video at the same time, but what we have been doing from the website point of view is we developed what's called an embeddable clickable hashtag. So when you're watching TV and they have those hashtags on the show and everyone's kind of going to Twitter and watching it. So now in our videos, you can click on a hashtag for the video, click on it, and then actually start
clicking on it on the actual
in
video?
the video, yeah, it's embedded.
So it's like an annotation on YouTube? You could see on, but within your
Yeah,
player?
exactly,
It's
but
the same
within our
idea.
player.
Yeah,
So you can click on it because we want it, because everyone was tweeting our videos out and just it was all over the place, but we wanted to kind of bring the conversation back around the video itself. So we started using that, and we've seen great engagement that way. So everyone's kind of has the same conversation and seeing what everyone else is saying about the video. From the TV point of view, I think we're in a great position to leverage an online community that we've already built with our television properties. So we're trying to get people as they're watching one of our shows to be, well, one, we're promoting it through Out Funny or Die with like promotional videos or Twitter takeovers on our Twitter account, because we have like 2.8 million Twitter followers right now, so we have a good voice that we can talk to the crowd, our audience about the shows, to get them to watch the shows and then participate online with us on Twitter and Facebook and all that.
Yeah.
How do you manage your voice of Funny or Die through Twitter? Do you put much work into that, or is it come naturally through whoever's managing Twitter?
It comes naturally. I don't think we've ever sat down and said, this is our voice.
So do you hire a comedian to be doing your Twitter as well? Or someone that's a comedy writer? Is that the prerequisite?
No, for the person who's running our Twitter account is here. No, you know what? Dashel.
He controls 2.1 million
He's tweeting right
He's
now.
like a
Evil
bot.
laugh.
He's his own botnet.
No, he has the sense. I think the great thing about Funny or Die is we hire people with the same sensibilities in comedy. So he fits in well with what we think is funny. And he's sitting with the writers and the producers and all that stuff. So he gets a feel of what the culture is all about, and tweets accordingly that way.
So DMD, how are you seeing internet companies innovate in that regard in terms of multi-platform entertainment?
Yeah, well, I had a couple examples which are sort of internet companies and sort of not. One is the Travel Channel is actually doing some really cool stuff, which is sort of a more traditional TV station or TV property, but they do a lot of stuff online. They've been doing a lot of things specifically because they have this sort of forward audience with Anthony Bourdain's No Reservations, and that audience, for whatever reason, tends to be like experimental and trying to do new stuff, and so they're doing this stuff where he actually tweets during the first airing of his shows. So if you're watching the show, No Reservations, you can follow him, and he's actually commenting, so it's like a little Mystery Science 3000 or whatever it was, of him commenting on himself while you're watching it. So that sort of gives you something fun to do, not just with your friends, but while watching that show. So I think that's pretty cool.
We've seen award shows, of course, do it really well recently and increase their viewership on TV, proving that it's possibly, although we're saying the viewership is decreasing going digital, but there's still an audience there, and it's possibly not about TV versus the internet or digital. They can work together.
Yeah, great. And then I think the other one, the big one nobody thinks about really, which some people do, if you're a sports fan you do, but is Major League Baseball. And basically one of the most popular media companies in the world. They stream like 5,000 baseball games a year live on the internet, so all these baseball fans can watch every single game if they want to. And they have some amazing technology that they use and allow people to like talk to each other, and they do all sorts of stuff with apps in the actual stadium, and so like a
Sports
great
is the one
media.
piece of entertainment that will never lose money.
Yeah.
I wish,
Well, I think part of it for them is that
TV,
they have,
online, they just constantly make money.
they have an audience. They have I mean, when you have literally millions of people who want to watch what you're doing, you can take a lot of risks. You can invest a lot of money in the technology. They can do stuff that other people can't do because they don't have as big of an audience.
Didn't they have hire a guy to be like the man cave or something,
Yes.
or MLB?
Yeah,
is that still around?
Yeah, it was in. I don't know. I think it's still going. No, well, the baseball season's over now, so you can tell I'm not a baseball fan. They had these guys in the old Tower Record store in New York, where they called it like the man cave
The
or
fan
the
cave?
fan cave.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. And
I know that because I have a sports fan in my ear right now. I should have revealed that. I would have been like,
Thank you, Brandon.
It's called a man cave.
Brandon, we love you.
Man cave.
Yeah. So these guys were watching every single game and tweeting about it and talking about it. And
Patrick thinks I'm putting him in the hot seat. But speaking of which, let's throw it out to our audience if anyone has questions. Well, and while some people here throw out a question, I'm also going to be checking our Twitter feed at What's Trending. So if you have questions watching the live stream right now, send them our way. So does anyone out here have a question in the audience? And then I will repeat it for the live stream. Yes, Kevin. Keldoff, who has been a great partner tonight, bringing Pink's hot dogs. Yay. So shout out to Kevin. Which is a staple in LA.
It's something you mentioned earlier, but it was kind of dodged slightly, and I'm actually curious to know. We've discussed briefly, some innovative portals like the Baseball Network or Travel Network. But what about specific brands that are doing?
So what he asked, because the audience can't hear it, is what brands are really innovating? We talked about some portals, Travel Channel or Major League Baseball, but what are brands that are innovating right now?
I feel like my favorite brand in the social media and digital space is Ford. I think they do an amazing job of using social media for what it's really supposed to be, and that's creating the community around the brand, and again, going back to making people feel that it's not them and the brand, but they're part of the brand. So Ford uses Facebook and Twitter to to reveal like big car launches, to get feedback on what people feel like are the great qualities of Ford, and then they actually take that and integrate it into their product. So I feel like they're the one brand out there that's listening and engaging with that community. So.
And Scott Monty, shout out to him who runs their social media.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Ford. And they did a Scrabble with Jenny McCarthy. Like
Oh,
a
really?
live on, yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah, they experiment a lot. They've been doing really well with influencers as well.
Scrabble freaks.
Scrabble. What is it? What is it called? The online Scrabble
Words with
game?
Friends.
Words with Friends.
Words with Friends.
Yes.
Freaks is what
There
they
you
are.
go. And so who are you? I mean, I know you work with a lot of brands, so maybe, you know.
One for me.
Don't be biased.
I suppose if anyone hasn't picked my weird accent, I'm from New Zealand, and one for me that is really doing it, I think, in a cultural and digital space is Air New Zealand, and you may have seen some of their work over here, but they've gone deep. Like, I mean, they're great innovators. They even took like one of the most horrible assets that every airline has, which is their in-flight air safety video, and made it like a viral, a massive viral success. They got, they had a few. They did the first one they did was a totally nude in-flight safety video. So yeah, and this played on all their planes. Like, it not only did it.
The recipes for viral success.
Yeah, not only did it. Yeah.
Exactly.
No-
Merchants done like a very safe version.
Yeah. So, I mean, only in New Zealand where you can't really get sued for much. So, but it played on their planes, right? So it wasn't just like a spoof that they put online. So they got all their actual real flight attendants and captains to be body painted in their airline suit, or their airline, what are they, costumes? Uniforms?
Uniform.
They're
Costumes.
great costumes.
Yeah, painted.
People are gonna be
yeah.
offended about that.
Yeah, they're
It's
painted.
not
They're
shit.
People are
painted,
tweeting
painted
now.
party suits. Yeah. So yeah, and they basically did, in a very risque way and also very clever way, they managed to do the whole in-flight safety video within the legal requirements, but also without showing any, boobs, tits, balls, all that sort of carry on. Yeah, and yeah. it was-
Oh, you are from New Zealand. I love it.
But yeah, and they went big with that, and then they kept going with that. They went another level on that.
Yeah,
And they
New
got-
Zealand. So check out Air New Zealand. And you, DMD?
I think GE's been doing a lot of really cool stuff, associating their brand with the whole eco-imagination thing. I think
Yeah,
is
they
really
worked with
cool.
a lot of YouTubers on that to do their own
I think that a lot of
videos.
that's been great. I know, I think that stuff's been really awesome, and they're doing a lot of. What's interesting about that is they do a lot of different types. It's a very like multi-layered kind of campaign. They're doing lots of different types of executions. There's a blog actually that I really like where these guys go and they're actually visiting all the different labs at GE and just reporting about like what innovations GE is up to. And anyway, so I think they've been doing some nice stuff even through all the tumults of being like a GE in the world of this economy kind of.
Yeah.
And Macy's actually did something really interesting on Google Plus recently where they brought fashion bloggers to do Google Plus Hangouts with people, and people got to ask them advice on Google Plus. So there's definitely people doing a lot of interesting things online. I'm being told to move my hair. Oh, no. Oh, it's on the microphone. Sorry. Anyone else have a question?
What about Virgin Atlantic?
Virgin Atlantic, someone asks.
Interesting work. What do you guys think?
They might not know what they're doing. You never know. There's so many brands out there, but do you know about what Virgin Atlantic is doing?
I mean,
They're very quick to respond. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing I always notice with them.
yeah, I think they use, again, social media in a great way. From a customer service point of view, I feel like they're getting out there, they're responding to what people are asking of them or the complaints that they have. And again, it makes people feel like they actually have this voice that a brand can respond back to. And they also use it for information about, flight delays or specials or all that stuff.
Well, customer service is so important when you're a brand online. We also saw, of course, with Cyber Monday, what I thought was interesting. Speaking of staying in to go out, Cybermint, the Beach Mint people, who they have sites with Rachel Bilson, the Olsen twins. They did a whole, the first ever shopping network live stream on Facebook. Oh. And I think that's a beginning of a trend we're definitely going to see blow up in 2012, where Facebook, the live streams on Facebook, people incorporate live stream, but the interactivity, that was a new wave of interactivity there that we'll see in 2012. So look out for that. Check out Beach Mint. Any other questions? Yes, we have another question.
Great panel tonight, Shira.
Thank you.
On the innovation side, kind of two trends, I guess, or kind of movements that I'm watching. I'd love to hear comments on. One is kind of like the one screen, all screens, and how content can go across the 4 screens, basically from desktop through now to tablet and mobile and everything else, and how those similarities and differences work, maybe together and apart. And then kind of the second trend that I'm sort of really watching is tying online and offline experiences together, and how what might be coming up on that. I think there's a lot of untapped area that it's just people are starting to figure out, not just the social media side, but tying both together and where that might work.
So first, let's go into that one question, the first one, which is the multi-screen experience, which we did talk about a bit. It's basically, how are we going to see those 4 screens integrate each other seamlessly, work with each other in the future in 2012? And we spoke about award shows, MLB Network, but how do you think in approaching a network where they want the views there? So how do you balance the attention that you build and the community you build online for that? For TV network content versus what you're putting out online to socialize that and build community.
Yeah, I think I think you'll see the lines blurred, right? I think both will be one within each other, especially with internet TV and things like that evolving. For us, the way that we want to use it is, you're watching something on TV, it's a half hour every week or something like that. We use the internet or the web to make sure that those 6 other days that you're not thinking about the show, that we're giving you something to think about or interact, or and building that brand sentiment around, a positive brand sentiment around that show to get you excited